Hello, welcome back. It's been a month since I last posted, but I was actually really overwhelmed with the positive feedback I got, and I really wanted to think of another tutorial to make for you guys. So I'm going to go over what kind of wands and wand stats should you be looking for. I wanted to make this video in one big video of looking at wands and spells in conjunction, but I felt like I was trying to compress information a little too much, so we're just going to focus on wands and wand stats today. So, let's get into it. Now, I'm not sure if this is how it's actually programmed in the game, but at least in Cheat GUI, wands are in 5 different tiers. Now, this seems kind of prevalent in gameplay, so I'm going to imagine that's somewhat how it works. Now, Tier 1 wands, these are basically the kind of wands that you find in the mines. These are like your starter wands. Now, as you go deeper in the game, you tend to find higher tier wands, going up to Tier 5, which are basically like your really good wands, and they have really good spells. So Tier 1 wands, they tend to have crappy stats, crappy spells. Tier 2, a little bit better, a little bit better stats and spells. Tier 3, better. 4, better. 5. These are like basically your best ones. They have like the really good spells, or I guess in this case just loaded up with a whole bunch of one particular spell. But yeah, trust me, they usually tend to have like better yeah, like this has a lot more going on and more interesting. So, what should you look for when you're shopping for a new wand? Now, this stat table to new players can look very intimidating, but we're going to break it down from most important to least important. So, the first thing that I look for when I am shopping for a new wand is it a shuffle wand or not? Non-shuffle wands, they are the usual go-to because they are the most reliable wands. It allows you to have complete control in what spells you're using and just like how it performs. And again, like you can even like manage like what spells fire off by hot swapping between wands. I guess that's something I can go over later. But for right now, it's just again non-shuffle wands are usually the go-to. However, shuffle wands aren't entirely trash. Because fun fact, shuffle wands usually, not always, but usually, at least from what I've found, they tend to have better stats than their non-shuffle counterparts. Be it either like they cast way more spells at once, or maybe they have better mana maxes and mana charge speeds, better capacities, maybe better spells, but I'm not sure on that. But again, usually what you can do with shuffle wands is you can load it up with a whole bunch of safe spells, or you can load it up with a whole bunch of one particular spell, and it can kind of get you through, but normally you want to replace it with a good non-shuffle wand as soon as you can. Like a non-shuffle wand that has, like, you can have a shuffle wand that has like 1,000 mana max and maybe like 500 charge speed, but you're still probably gonna want to fucking prefer a non-shuffle wand with half those stats. So that's the number one thing I look for. Number 2, I look for always cast, because always casts, and I have a demonstration up here, what makes them really good is that you can think of them as a free spell. So like let's look at this one for example. Always cast Black Hole. Pretty good, right? Like this is like the creme de la creme of digging wands. Now, it has 50 mana max. Black Hole, 100 mana drain. So it shouldn't be firing Black Hole. But because it has an always cast Black Hole on it, it's going to cast that Black Hole even though that spell normally is too expensive to fire. And again, I don't have to have this on here. Like I can remove it and still firing it for free. That's what makes always casts really good. Granted, sometimes you can get crap spells, like the one down there had always cast double scatter, which is just like, who cares? And another thing to note about always cast wands is that, alright, in game, the most I have found is 2 always casts on one wand. This is one that I just built in the wand builder because it let me keep going. Like I could do 5, I don't know, maybe I could do 6. I just wanted to stop because I don't know if it would crash the game. But You can get multiple always casts on a wand, so you should also look out for that too. Again, sometimes it's not always good spells, but it is something to look out for, because again, it's a free spell. Who doesn't want free spells? Alright. Oh, that's unfortunate. But anyways, next thing I look for is capacity. Because if the capacity is too small, you can't really do anything with it. Like, look at that, 2 capacity, like, really, what can you do with it? I guess that the mana max is high enough, so maybe I could put, like, a nuke on it, or a holy bomb, but really, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of crazy stuff with it. Usually you want the higher capacity, so that way you can load it up with a whole bunch of spells and spell modifiers. Higher capacity just lets you get more crazy with your wands. Now, these next 2 stats are incredibly important, and they kind of dictate what kind of wand you're going to have. And normally you have to you only get one or the other. You don't really get a best of both worlds for the most part. Mana max and mana charge speed. Having a high mana max lets you slap on a whole bunch of high level spells or high level modifiers, just really expensive things. High mana charge speed dictates how fast that mana pool comes back. Because if you run out of the mana pool, well, you're not going to be able to cast those high level spells until it recharges to the point where you can fire it again. So, high mana charge speeds can be really good for rapid fire wands. Because look, this only has 150 mana max, but 100 mana charge speed. So, I can fire off a burst, a quick rapid fire burst of these lances. And lance isn't even a bad spell. Like, look at that. 35 damage. And that's like, I don't know, a volley of like, maybe 6? Maybe not 6, like maybe like 4. When I think about it. But that's pretty good, and it comes back relatively quickly. Now, let's look at a wand that has a similar setup. But it has a high mana pool, but a low mana charge speed. Like, look at that. 1000 mana max, but only 20 mana charge speed. What that means is that, yeah, I get to fire that big old burst for longer, but, yeah, that's kind of all I get. Like, I ain't gonna be firing off that big burst again until, like, I don't know, the next avatar shows up. It's gonna be a while. But, having a high mana max lets me get away with throwing a whole bunch of expensive modifiers and expensive spells onto one wand. So, let's say, like, I don't know, you're fighting, like, a really tough enemy, or it's a room full of bad guys, and you're really scared and you want them all to die. Just slap a whole bunch of high-level spells onto a high mana max wand, and just let the sparks fly, like that. Ooh, ow. Yeah, like that can happen. But keep in mind that because it has a low mana charge speed, you're not going to be able to do that again for a while. But in the meantime, you can swap to Rapid Fire Wand to deal with whatever dregs happen to survive, or you can just use it to deal with single targets or just weak targets, yada yada yada. So again, high mana maxes aren't bad, they just let you basically create like nuke wands, or even fire nukes. So again, usually you can only have one or the other. Sometimes you can get a nice mix of both worlds, but again, usually the game only lets you have a high mana max or a high mana charge. Next important spell, or next important stat, my bad. I guess spells cast, like spells per cast, can be kind of important, because sometimes it just allows you to fire off a whole bunch of spells at once. I mean, it's not that important because you have spells like this that exist in the game, or like this. Makes it easier to manage. Like, normally I actually tend to like just one spell per cast because it makes it way easier for my tiny brain to craft special wands like this, because I don't have to worry about, like, oh, like, I also got to factor in it's going to cast these, and it just makes it easy for me. It's not impossible to work with multiple spells per cast. Like, it's definitely doable. If you watched my first video, like, similar concept applies. It's just, I don't really care about it too much. Recharge time? Early game recharge time can kind of be a pain in the ass because, like, look at this, like 3.68 seconds. Like, goddamn, just watch a whole fucking movie and then you'll be able to fire it again. Now, but it's not that big of a deal because you have things like this that can counteract it. Now, again, 3.68 seconds, like, you could throw on a million chainsaws and it's still probably going to take 82 years to fire again. But usually, recharge time tends to not be that bad. It usually tends to be below a second from what I've found, so it's pretty manageable. It's not something you have to worry about that much. Spread, alright. Spread can be a positive number or a negative, like, look at that, negative 19 spread. Let's see if I can find, but yeah. If it's a positive number, the bigger it is, imagine there being, like, a little cone, like a little accuracy cone. If it's a bigger number, that cone is going to be bigger, meaning my spells can, like, fire off here, or down there, or anywhere, really, within that cone. Now, if it's negative, like, the more negative is, the tighter that cone's gonna be. So it allows it to be more pinpoint and, like, have things just go where I'm aiming. Usually not that big of a deal, but, like, let's say, like, let's look at this one. Like, imagine if it had, like, plus 20 spread. Like, that means, like, I could fire it, and then, like, it can suddenly, like, hit this wall above me, and even though I'm aiming, like, down here, and it would blow up in my face. Yeah, that would be very bad if I were a weak and I'm kind of on fire and dying. It's bad. Alright, I got it out. But yeah, you don't want that happening. But usually spreads aren't that bad, and there are ways to counteract it. Oh yeah, and I guess just to show, like, a high monocharge speed wand. Again, I know, I'm sorry for it being out of order, but yeah, like, look at that. Only one spell comes out, so, but anyways. And then, last stat we're going to talk about, Castellet. Never have I ever gave one single damn about Castellet. I have never cared. It is so easy to bypass unintentionally without any thought. Like, I don't think I've ever been like, oh, god damn, I lost out because of the castle. I mean, I don't know. Like, when it comes to spells, like, it can be important, like, if this has a... Yeah, like, look at that. If I put this spell over here, like, it's gonna screw it up, but it's just like, oh, like, look what I can do. Just move that over, and it's like, oh. I've never cared about Castellet. And honestly, I think you shouldn't care either. But yeah, I think that's all the spells... Or, my bad, all the wand stats that I wanted to go over. So, I hope this tutorial helped you better figure out how to separate trash wands from good wands. And, again, I wanted to make this a longer tutorial going over spells as well, but I felt like I was kind of condensing the information, making it a little bit vague and hard to understand, so sorry about that, but hey, you get to be on the lookout for another video. I guess it gives you a reason to subscribe. How scummy of me, but I'm sorry. I really wanted to condense it, but I couldn't. Alright, I guess I'm logging out. See ya.